Hi, this is North County PC Solutions, and today we're going to take a look at installing and setting up Windows 8. I'm going to be using VirtualBox so you can see the entire setup in real time. As you can see right off the bat, Windows 8 has a little bit different appearance when you're starting to install it. It does use a pre-install environment similar to Windows Vista or Windows 7, which makes it kind of nice because it also has the rescue features of those operating systems. Cool little circle down here. Despite the fact that it's a new operating system, it does run fairly smooth, and the system requirements are about the same as Windows 7. To begin with, it'll ask you a little information, typical of Windows. Okay, you notice that it'll ask for the product key right at the beginning of the install instead of previously you would install the software and it would prompt you for the install key later on. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to punch in the install key, but I'm not going to show that part on here because if you buy Windows 8 you should go ahead and have your own install key with it. So I'll probably just stop and then restart during this part. Once you've entered the five-digit codes for the install, you just follow the prompts, pretty much just clicking boxes and hitting next. And we're not going to upgrade. This would be if you're changing up from Vista or Windows 7 to Windows 8, but we're just going to do regular install. I've already created a virtual drive because we're using VirtualBox. But in normal circumstances, it's just going to go to your regular C drive. Right now it's unpacking the Windows, pretty much typical of Windows programs. There are some differences in the install of Windows 8. Some of it's pros, some of it's cons. One of the things that I would recommend is that you make a Windows Live account or Hotmail account, or now they call it Outlook as well. I would make an account ahead of time with a strong password. As Windows 8, one of the new features of it is the very first account is the admin account, but you'll have to give it an email address and a password for that. And I don't like to set that up with my regular email password. I guess the premise of it is that whoever sets up the machine is going to be the administrator. So I like to keep that separate from my personal email or stuff that I use for other reasons. It will end up being the password to log into your admin account on your computer later. So it's a good idea to have a strong password for that. And one of the other glitches is if you change around the email for your admin account to another email account, it kind of boogers things up and it'll crisscross your contacts and stuff like that, and it gets a little confusing with your password to your email account and your login account for the actual operating system. That's another reason I recommend just to go ahead and make a separate email account and strong password when you're initially setting up this operating system. We'll get to that part in a little bit though. As you can see right here, it's copying the files over and it's currently getting files ready to install, and then it's going to install some features. I might pause and clip part of these out as it's a little bit time consuming. But let's go ahead and make sure that we don't miss any of the install steps during the process. You'll notice that once it installs the packets and stuff, that Windows 8 will restart on its own. That's pretty typical of Windows operating systems. It is pretty good as far as the automation of that stuff. Those little gray OK boxes aren't actually part of Windows 8. That's just part of a VirtualBox. That is too. As of Windows 7, Windows 8 is really good about detecting your devices and stuff. So people that have played with older operating systems, XP, DOS, and whatnot, this is a great upgrade from that part of the operating system at least. And since it is a pre-installed environment, if you do have unusual drivers and stuff, you have the opportunity to do that on install. And again, this is VirtualBox. Okay, up to now it's been pretty similar to installing most of the other operating systems. Now the customization is a little bit different on Windows 8. You either like it or you love it. It's kind of fun. So right here you got a selection of colors you can use for your initial setup. I like to keep it somewhere where I can see a good contrast between the fonts and the background. So I think that's a pretty cool color right there. For the PC name, I'm just going to call it my Windows. Oh no, let's do this. Let's call this virtual. It's going to ask you for a PC name right here, so I'm going to go ahead and call this one virtual Windows 8. So I can, okay, we'll call it virtual Win 8. I guess you don't get enough characters to do that. Next, and it's probably going to use that for your SSID. And then it's going to prompt you for a couple other things. We're going to go ahead and go with the Express settings. Now here's the part I was talking about, where when you set up your first account, that's going to be your administrative account. And I don't really like this. To me, it's a little bit intrusive. It's going to take this email account and associate this with your logon for the admin account, and it's going to connect that email to it. So I would recommend setting up a separate email account that you don't need for anything else, and I would give it a strong password. In this case, I went ahead and set one up ahead of time through Hotmail/Outlook. And let's see what I called it. Just for you to see at live.com. Okay, so I made this one just for you to see, so we'll go ahead and move on. Now it's going to go ahead and double check your email account, make sure everything's kosher with that. Now you have to give it a login, and I went ahead and just gave it the same as the email. So keeps things a little simpler, because you'll find out that it gets a little bit convoluted between the email and the admin logon. And again, that's a feature I really don't like. I think it's a little bit intrusive in that your email account and your operating system should be detached. And I'm not a big fan of Outlook either. With Windows 8, Outlook is automatically part of the system. It's kind of like the old Apples. Okay, here it's just going to ask you to go to the corners of the screen just to test it out. Okay, so we're going to click. And it'll probably ask a second time. Click. Okay, after you've clicked over in that corner a couple times, it gets ready to start setting it up. Other than the fact that it does ask for an email account for your admin, which is kind of weird, Windows 8 does set up pretty smoothly. And actually, even though it's a newer operating system and it's probably a little bit larger, the system requirements aren't any more than Windows 7, and it does seem to run pretty smooth. It's not a real resource hog compared to previous operating systems. And unlike Vista, it doesn't default to all the bells and whistles and transparencies. I think what happened with Vista was that a lot of enterprise machines were older hardware, and a lot of large companies complained that they didn't like it, and so they kind of detracted on some of that during Windows 7, and thankfully they kind of maintained that on Windows 8. Some of the interesting features people love or hate on this is that when you first turn on Windows 8, instead of your regular startup screen, you get a screen full of boxes similar to a cell phone or a touchpad instead of your regular start screen. Those boxes can have live feeds in them. They can have connections to cloud technologies and stuff like that. Again, people love that or hate that. Myself, I like to keep my tablet and my cell phone separate from my computer as far as appearance and usability. I guess I'm kind of old school in that regard. And I will show how to go ahead and change that easily. There's several ways to do that to bring back your old startup screen in desktop. But what I've found is there's a simple download that you just install and run, and boom, it fixes it. You don't have to be an IT expert to go ahead and change that back. Here you go, Nerdy Guy and the start. And as I was talking about, you've got your email, and this is your Outlook connections and stuff like that. You can actually watch your instant messaging in real time. Here's your desktop, and you can tell it what area you're in to check that, and your DAO and whatnot. You can rifle through your photos, which that's probably handy for some people. And your calendar, you can go to your Internet Explorer. Okay, let's move over since we're in VirtualBox and we don't have quite the full screen. All your peripheral devices you can go ahead and do here, watch your videos, and this is what I was talking about with your cloud technology. You can have a SkyDrive, which is just a fancy name for being connected with a server and saving some of your stuff online. I don't like putting my personal information on some unknown server somewhere in the universe. What I do is I recommend backing up your stuff on an external hard drive and then removing that from your system when you're not using it. To me, that's the safest bet. I know large businesses will do both. They'll have an actual physical hard drive backup in the area, plus they'll have it on a server. You can actually go to stores and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and try this out a little bit. Okay, so you can go to your email and you can and all these features. And again, this is one of the things I don't like. I don't know how to back out of some of these. So right off the bat, that's not a very user-friendly thing to myself. Okay, here we go. I guess to get out of these bubbles, you have to go down here, and it pulls up some stuff, and this takes you back to your desktop. I don't really like that feature, so what I do is I go to the desktop, and it's much like a regular desktop, regular machine, but you'll notice people don't like it because there's no startup tab anymore. All you have is your Internet Explorer, your Windows Explorer, your garbage bin, and it tells you a little bit about your system, your sound card, your networking, and any problems you may have right there. This is where you can do something about this. You can click on your desktop screen, and we're going to get on the internet real quick. And it takes you to a TMSN. They've actually changed where it starts off at now with Windows 8 instead of regular MSN. And this is another nice place to go. It's called Ninite.com, N-I-N-I-T-E. And this is a really cool place because anything that you install and download from here, they've already eliminated all the junkware. It's free for regular people. For enterprise level people, they do charge a little bit, but I'll bet you it's well worth it. As you can see with Ninite, you can get all your neat stuff here like GIMP. You can get your antivirus software, malware stuff, even your office systems like Libre or OpenOffice.org. What we're going to do is we're going to look for this. This is Classic Shell. And we're going to go ahead and tell it to go ahead and do it. We're going to run the installer from Ninite, and it will automatically install it. This Classic Start is actually just a shell that brings back shortcuts to all the stuff on the desktop that you used to have before Windows 8. So it gives it the appearance of Windows 7, which is really it's a really nice little feature. It's free and it's easy to do. There's other ways to get your desktop and your Start tab back, but this is just great and I haven't had any problems with it. Okay, once it's installed, you close it out, close all tabs. Now you'll see the shell here. Okay, and now you notice it brings back all the stuff. You've got all your regular commands that you would have from a Windows 7 machine. And when you go to apps, it has more of the new feel and look to it as well. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. Okay, so from there, it's pretty much like Windows 7, and I do have to say, other than the actual interface with the boxes that you can slide around and stuff like that, I've had a pretty good experience with Windows 8. Oh, that and the setting up your first account. After you've set up your first account, your admin account, it's a good idea to switch accounts and use that for all your main stuff. You can do that right now. Let's go ahead and set up another account. What you would do, well, I'll just demonstrate part of it. Let's go to Settings, Control Panel, and then down to User Accounts. And what I would do is set up another account from the User Account panel here. Keep this one just for when you want to update your computer, add and remove stuff, because it does get kind of convoluted. And if you have a regular email account on your regular user account, you don't get the confused mix-up with the computer itself. It just simplifies your life. Okay, this is just a basic look at the install and the basic features of Windows 8. I'm probably later going to go into a little more detail on it, but at least you know how to install it and some of the pros and cons of the operating system. This is North County PC Solutions. Thank you for watching this. Bye-bye.